It's also decided to advance the date of the union budget. What that date will be has still not been confirmed, but we are given to understand that it will be between the 31st of January and within the first week of February. But of course, no final decision has been taken so far. The government says that this is being done to streamline processes and make better use of government expenditure. Joining us now to discuss this is the former Railway Minister, Dinesh Trivedi. Also with us, the former Finance Secretary, Arvind Mayaram. Gentlemen, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18. Mr. Trivedi, my first question to you, as former Railway Minister, do you believe that doing away with the railway budget is a good idea or a bad idea?
See, one budget or 10 budgets or no budget for me is not of importance. For me, what is of importance is what is going to be good for the railways. And if you ask me, and I have always said this, that subsequent governments have not understood the strength of Indian Railways, which is one of the best organizations in the world. So in short, whether this is going to add 2.5% to the GDP or not. Otherwise, for me, very honestly, it does not matter.
Okay,
whether you have a separate budget, you have no budget, but what is the bottom line? Where is the money going to come?
Let me present to you. But let me present to you the argument that Suresh Prabhu and the Finance Minister have made because as the rationale behind this move. In fact, Mr. Prabhu is saying that this move will help raise capital expenditure in railways, which will enhance connectivity in the country and boost economic growth, functional autonomy. Distinct identity of the railways will remain as it is. He also goes on to say the merger will also facilitate an integrated and seamless approach towards transportation strategy in the country. So there is an argument that's being presented by the government for why it wants to merge these two. Of course, I understand that there continue to be concerns on the autonomy of the Railway Ministry, but don't you buy the government's argument?
No, these are all nice words, and Suresh Prabhu is a very capable person, a very dear friend of mine. But all these arguments are very good once you have investment program and plan. What is going to be your investment plan? And Shireen, let me tell you, to begin with, the definition of Indian Railways is faulty. And what is the definition? It is colonial definition that it is a commercial organization. How can the Indian Railways be a commercial organization?
Sure.
It is not. No railways in the world can make money, but yes, it can be a catalyst to add to 2.5% to any GDP, and Indian Railways certainly can do. But if this is going to be good, I welcome this.
Okay,
but I am not very sure whether this purpose will be achieved or not.
All right, let's bring in Mr. Mayaram as well. Mr. Mayaram, first a quick response there to the arguments that the government is making on the merger of the railway budget and the union budget and the concerns that Mr. Trivedi has raised. Do you agree? Are you in Mr. Trivedi's camp, or do you believe that this is a step in the right direction?
Shireen, I'm in nobody's camp, but I can only speak to you from my experience as the Finance Secretary of India, that you are not abolishing railway budget. I think it's just a semantics that is being used. Railways will have a budget, which means that you have an agriculture budget, you have a budget for road transport. So the budget document of Government of India has these components. Absolutely. And railway budget would be very much there. So the railway budget is not being abolished. It is only a manner in which it is going to be presented and in a manner in which it is going to be implemented. So that we should be clear on that count, that the railway budget as such is not being abolished. That's the first observation I'd like to make. The second observation I'd like to make is that in railways there are clearly, distinctly two major streams of expenditure and revenue. So one stream of expenditure is what is known as the operational commercial expenditure, which railways does in terms of doing its own commercial activity, which is moving freight, moving people, and so on.
Right.
Now that is the commercial part of it. But the other part is the developmental part of the budget. And the developmental part of the budget is where what we call national projects or new projects or whatever we look at. which are seen in two ways. One is when you are looking at a project where immediate returns are not possible,
Right.
but you are developing a new market, so down the line in 7 years, 8 years, the line is going to be viable, and it will also impact the economy of the area which it is opening up.
Right.
So this is very much a long-term commercial decision that the railways takes. The other are few in nature, which are the ones where you may not think of a commercial return. Look at a railway line, for instance, which may connect Manipur or which may connect Nagaland, where you may not look for next 20 years much of commercial return, but
Sure.
it's strategic line.
Right.
It is strategic from the point of view of country's security or country's development, or simply for bringing people who are unserviced or are far-flung into the mainstream.
Right. So how is this
So
going to
I
change,
think-
Mr. Mayaram? Because the finance minister says that the railway will continue to enjoy autonomy. Mr. Prabhu says the railway ministry will continue to be, in that sense, in charge of execution and strategy. It's only the budget aspect of it which now moves to the finance ministry. So in that sense, would it be fair to assume that when you talk about some of these commercial decisions that may not be viable in the short term, and we do know that politics has had a lot to play when these decisions are made. So do you believe that that perhaps is now going to be somewhat in check? We are now going to have that counterbalance to what earlier used to be politically driven.
So this is what the expectation should be, and this discussion is not new. Actually, merging of the budget, this discussion is fairly old. But the fact is that nobody went that far to be able to really merge the budgets for political compulsions.
Yeah.
You know how the railway, portfolio was allocated
Yes.
to parties which were in coalition. So what we have seen, for instance, look at the number of projects which are started but not completed, and the number of years they are languishing. So the number of announcements that railway makes, spend some little money on it, or the number of railways which have been announced. For
Sure.
instance, look at the number of which is completely unnecessary.
So, Mr. Trivedi, wouldn't
You
you
have
agree?
some-
Wouldn't you agree with the point that Mr. Mayaram is making, and that I think is the hope behind this exercise, that you get away from this political wrangling every time a railway budget was to be announced? You depoliticize the process of the railway budget.
See, if I'm sitting in a far-flung area in Buxar, and if I want connectivity, because I have never seen a railway, do you consider political, or do you consider as my right to be connected? So, as far as whether there should be a separate budget or not, I'm not even going to talk about the merit or demerit of it. But yes, I'm going to tell you that whatever little I know, and I don't blame Suresh Prabhu for that, this has been going on for years together. At this point in time, even if they wanted a railway budget, there was no budget because railway is bankrupt.
Yeah.
Railway's operating ratio has crossed 120 or 150 because of the financial burden. And I repeat, I don't blame this government or Suresh Prabhu, who is a very capable person.
Sure.
But it has been going on.
Yeah.
So in short, like you connect the roadways, it is your duty and it is the right of the citizen to get connected.
Right.
We are not bothered whether it is financially viable or not. Why? How? You can't say the man in Buxar that, sorry, I can't give you because it's not financially viable.
Sure, but at the end of the day, somebody has got to pay the bills. But Mr. Mayaram, I want to talk to you now about the other. Right, about the other decision that's been made by the cabinet today, and that is advancing the date of the union budget. We understand it's likely to be 31st of January or the first week of February. Just from an implementation point of view, what will the implications be? And from an expenditure or an efficiency expenditure perspective, what will the implications be? Because that seems to be what is driving the government to advance the date.
Well, I'll be honest on that. I think unless you change the financial year, not very much will change just by changing the date of presentation of the budget or passing of the budget.